everybody, welcome to episode number 44 of Driftless Knitting. My name is Jennifer. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Driftless Knitter, and you can find the podcast on Ravelry if you search for Driftless Knitting in the Groups tab. I am coming to you from Cross Plains, Wisconsin, which is just outside of Madison. It is a rainy night, and yes, I am doing this at night today. It feels really weird, but it's almost 8:30 at night right now. Pitch dark, obviously, being that it is October, and it is raining and thunderstorming just a tad right now. I don't have my sliding glass door open, which is right behind me, but I do have some windows up top in our loft area that are open right now, and so you might be able to hear a little bit of rain. I also have the dishwasher running, so apologies for background noise, but you gotta do what you gotta do and get everything done when you can, right? So, also, I hope that light right up there, oh man, that's weird. There we go. I hope that light doesn't bother anybody. I wanted to have a little bit of background light, and it just so happens that that's where it's at, and this is where I decided to sit today. It's kind of the prettiest background right now in our downstairs area. These are a lot of my books in this case behind me, and as you can see, a lot of my like collector kind of antique books are up top, and then I don't know if you can see that picture up there, but cute little farm scene with sheep on it, kind of appropriate. I was gonna film upstairs. I have another bookcase with my knitting things, my knitting books, and some knickknacks and things on it, but the upstairs is a little bit messy right now, and I did not have time to clean it up. So I kind of like it down here. There's tons of light, and I think this is gonna work. But yeah, it feels really strange to be podcasting at night. I think there's only been a couple other times where I have done that, so we'll see how it goes. First off the bat, I want to touch on something that might be slightly, don't want to say controversial, because hopefully we all agree on certain things, but this past week here in the United States has been kind of rough. We had another incident where a lot of people were harmed, and I feel like I can't go on here and be smiling and talking about yarn and knitting when so many people out there are suffering. Sorry. All I wanted to say, and I'm not going to get political, because being upset about what happened should not be a political thing. All I will say is that what happened in Las Vegas is unforgivable. And in my opinion, if nothing changes in this country, when people have the power to change things, when people write off something as being unfixable when they haven't even tried to fix it, that too, I believe, is unforgivable. I think we need to do a better job as a country. Our politicians need to do a better job to let us know that they have our best interests in mind. And I really hope that we can all agree on that, at least, that something needs to change. And I wish I had the answers. Oh boy, how I wish I had the answers, but it's getting to be a routine here for things like this to happen, and it's getting to be a routine to hear the same answers when we pose the question, what do we do? I don't think that I think we need to do something more. And I'm sorry if that gives a sour taste to the whole podcast, but how can I not say something? So tonight I have my knitting surrounding me. I'm in my cozy apartment. I'm safe and sound, and I'm very thankful for that. And I'm still thinking about the families and the victims of of that shooting in Las Vegas, and yeah, that's all I wanted to say about that. Okay, that's done. Okay, I can breathe again. So, tonight I am drinking a cup of sleepy time tea. No coffee for me at this late hour. This is kind of a blend of, I think most people know what sleepy time tea is. It's just a blend of some herbal teas. There's peppermint and chamomile and I think a couple other things in there. But I just heated this up. It's still steeping a little bit. I can't really tip it or else this is all gonna pour out. But still steeping in there, the tea bag's still in there. And this is in my Debbie Bliss double rib coffee mug. And I got this from my best friend Caitlin last Christmas. So it'll be a year this December, I believe, that we actually got each other like almost the same mug. It was kind of crazy. I got her the stockinette mug and she got me the double rib mug, and we live in two different cities. She lives in Washington DC, and I obviously live in Wisconsin, so we did not plan that, had no idea, and we both ended up opening almost the exact same gift at Christmas. It's kind of crazy, really funny. So I have that there if I need it. It's still too hot to drink, but I think I will be sipping on it a bit throughout the podcast. And yeah, there's a lot to talk about tonight. I had a great weekend in Winona. As you guys know from the last episode, I was going back up there to go to a couple appointments and then also to see some friends, both in La Crosse and Winona. I stopped at both yarn stores, so Unwound in La Crosse and of course Yarnology in Winona. Sorry about that, I'm like getting distracted. And yeah, I had a great time. I stayed over with my friend Lisa, who is the dyer behind Three Sisters Fiber Company, which you hear me talk about all the time. I'm sure it's like old news by now, but so we had a lot of fun. We probably stayed up too late. We knitted and chatted and talked about things that were going on in both our lives, and it was really fun to catch up with her, and we just fell right back into, you know, everything as normal, even though we hadn't seen each other for about a month. But I feel like with really good friendships that you can just do that. You can, you know, stay in touch from afar, and then when you see each other, it's just like no time has passed at all. So that's exactly how it was, and it was really fun to stay with her and to see her a lot. So really, really happy I went. And I got a couple goodies along the way. I also finished a couple projects, which is really exciting. The main one that I finished, that I've been working on for like 2 weeks straight and was trying to get finished by the time I went to Yarnology. That one I did finish. I finished it on Saturday when I was there, but of course I don't have it now because I left it at Yarnology. So I left it there blocking. I meant to take a picture of it on the blocking table, but I forgot to go down there and do that. So I mean, it should be totally dry and blocked by now. So I might text Kelley, who was one of my bosses at Yarnology, and see if she can get me a picture of it, because I'd love to put a picture of it here. Plus, I haven't seen it like on a mannequin or a model, so I would love to see how it turned out. It was a bit of a rush just because I felt like I did have that deadline to get it done by I wanted to get it done by last Friday. I ended up getting it done Saturday during the day sorry, my nose is like all stuffed up now after that bit of emotion there in the beginning. So I wanted to get it done by Friday. I ended up getting it done by Saturday during the day when I was in Winona. I really only had the cowl to do. I had already started that before I left and worked on it a bit at Lisa's in between talking and looking up hand dyers on Instagram, and oh gosh, her dog was sick, so we were trying to we were, oh, she probably doesn't want me to tell the story, but so her dog Gus, who is a miniature Australian Shepherd, yeah, they exist. I did not know that, but he's tiny and they don't think he's gonna get any bigger. It's crazy. So he wasn't feeling well that day and he had gotten sick a couple of times. So that night he was just looking miserable and his stomach was gurgling, and now that I'm thinking about it, this probably is really gross to talk about on the podcast. But so we were sitting there knitting and he was sitting on my lap, and Lisa's just looking at him like, he does not look right. He does not look right. He looks like scared or upset or sad or something. And I'm like, you know when like kids, when you can tell they're gonna get sick because they literally have this like deer in the headlights, like what is happening to me kind of look on their face, and they can't control it, they don't know why they feel that way. I was like, maybe do you think he's gonna get sick again? Sure enough, like he started, yeah, this is really gross. So he started like acting like it, and Lisa grabbed him and just like tossed him onto the wood floor, said it wouldn't get on the couch and everything. And so we were trying to analyze that. That was really funny. And he's fine now, but it was kind of a bonding moment, and it was really funny. But so I didn't get like a ton knitted that night. I got maybe an inch or so, but this collar, the cowl on, I didn't even tell you the name of the pattern. So this was my Stone Point Poncho by Courtney Kelley of Kelborn Woolens, and I was knitting it out of the fiber company Erin Moore Light, which Yarnology just got in stock, and I was knitting this as a shop sample for them. Even though I don't work there anymore, I took the yarn along with me when I left, and I just thought it would be kind of a good way to keep me involved with the shop, but then also to help them out, because they try and knit a lot of shop samples, but you know, some people want to switch on and off knitting something for themselves or their family, and then knitting a shop sample. No one wants to be knitting samples constantly, or else, you know, that just isn't any fun. You don't get to keep any of them. So so I volunteered and I took the yarn home, and I really enjoyed it. It was a really fun knit. It's a very simple lace design on two like rectangles almost, and then you 3 needle bind off the shoulders, and you have like half the stitches live on this side and half on the back, and you put them on a 16-inch circular needle, and then you knit a collar, like a cowl it ends up being, because it's so tall. It's like 4 inches tall. It ends up draping down. So yeah, like I said, I was on the cowl neck when I went to Winona, and I got a bit done Friday night, but then the majority of it I finished Saturday morning, afternoon. I bound off Saturday at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and then blocked it there at the shop. So yeah, so that's finished, completely done, ends woven in, blocked, ready to go, and I will hopefully get a picture to show you and put it in like right here, but if not, I'll show it to you maybe some other point. But yeah, so that's finished object number 1. Finished object number 2, because guys, this is so crazy, I do not have any works in progress at the moment, or none that I shouldn't say that, because there's some like semi-languishing works in progress. Yeah, a few of them, but nothing that I've been working on to show you. I actually finished 2 things today. I know, I'm pretty proud of myself. So the first one that I will show you won't come as much of a surprise. I was pretty darn sure that I was going to get these done by the time I talked to you again, but I just managed to finish them this morning, or finish the second one this morning. Bound and determined to get it done on time for this podcast, and I did. All I had left to do was the toe, was decreasing the toe. So these are my Rhinebeck is Calling socks, and it is a pattern by Litton of the Crazy Sock Lady podcast, and she, when did she publish this? I can't remember. It's a fairly new pattern though. She wrote it definitely this year, and it was inspired by her trip to Rhinebeck. She's going to Rhinebeck for the first time this year and wanted to design a sock pattern for that. So these are knit out of Three Sisters Fiber Company yarn. It's I believe this is her BFL base. BFL and nylon. I don't know the percentages. I want to say like 75-25, something like that. And this is the colorway called Fall on the Farm. And she just told me this past weekend that she is considering dyeing this one again. If you guys aren't familiar with Lisa's yarn, most of her colorways are one and done. They're all one of a kind. She writes down the formula to some of them, not all. And if she really wanted to, she could recreate it. But the thing about Lisa is she likes to just do what inspires her that day, and kind of just have fun and not worry about having to recreate a colorway. So if you go on her website, or you're in Yarnology, or at Unwound has a little bit of her yarn. It's mostly just her self-striping yarn. But if you see her yarn, just know that it's pretty likely that that colorway will not be recreated. Though she did tell me that she was considering dyeing this colorway again, which is really exciting. I told her to let me know if she does, so I can let you guys know if you would like to get some of this. And yeah, these colors, this yarn was so fun to work with. The pattern is great too. I think I'll be knitting another pair of these for sure. But with the yarn, like, just combined, it was the perfect project, and it was the perfect first fall project that I did. These are going to be entered into the Rhinebeck is Calling Knit Along that Kay is hosting in her podcast group on Ravelry, and I'm also going to enter them into Tiffany of the Woolen Homesteads Knit Along. And she is doing my favorite color is October knit along. So it's anything that reminds you of autumn. Man, my sock blockers are getting away from me. Or fall. Yeah, I mean, it can be, she is leaving it open to like everything. It can be anything that is somewhat fall related, something that you associate with autumn. And these I thought were, the pattern and the yarn are both fall/autumn to me. So yeah, so I finished these and I'm super excited. Maybe that should be my screenshot. I love it when people just like stop and pose like that. Yeah, so I still have to block these. They are on my sock blockers, but I did not soak them yet, and I definitely want to do that. And yeah, I am 100% happy with these, so happy. I can't wait to wear them. It's going to be really fun. And I also have this much yarn left, quite a bit. So I'm not exactly sure what I'll do with this besides putting it in my Cozy Memories blanket. Oh no, I have a low battery, shoot. But other than that, I mean, it's so substantial. I can get, I don't know, I can get another small pair of socks, probably not for an adult, but, and some minis maybe out of it. We'll see. Definitely not going to toss this one. Of course not. Who does that? Who would do that? So my second finished object of the day was something that I started, I think, on Monday. I needed a little bit of knitting in between Spinzilla. This week, for those of you who aren't spinners, this week is Spinzilla, which is a competition to see how much yarn you can spin in 1 week. Sorry, something is going on with my voice. And for the last like 4 years, I believe, I've participated in Spinzilla, and 4 or 5 maybe. I can't remember. No, 4. I think I've only been spinning for 4 years, yeah. and it's a lot of fun. I'm not on a team this year. I didn't know of any in this area, and Yarnology slash, well, Lisa was the one that always kind of like headed them in the past, and she's not, well, she is doing Spinzilla, but she's not like, she doesn't have a team or anything. Does that make sense? So I didn't join a team. I'm spinning Rogue, which is still allowed. You don't have to be on a team. And I did a bit of spinning. I have to admit, this was the first time I spun since last year's competition. And I've had a few people really surprised that I'm a spinner. And I don't blame you, because there has been zero spinning content on my podcast, on my Instagram, on my Ravelry. I mean, it just has been non-existent. So I definitely wanted to get back into it for this. And Monday I started not very early. I started like mid-morning and spun for, you know, a few hours. And the same with Tuesday and Wednesday. Last night, the only spinning I did was to finish up a braid and then to ply them together. And I didn't really start spinning until later on last night. And then today I just kind of decided I could start another braid, but I really wanted to finish this next thing that I'll show you. And I have to have it done by Saturday. So I figured my priority was there, and I had already spun more than I had all year. So I was happy about that. For me, I wanted to just sit down again and get the feel for it again. Finish up a little bit of fiber. That is always a nice thing, and have some new yarn I can play with. But mostly just to get back into it. So I will hopefully not, it will hopefully not take me a year to sit down at my wheel again, and I'm hoping that I can stay accountable and do a bit of spinning here and there. It's definitely not my go-to thing. It used to be for a long time. It still relaxes me, but I was obsessed with spinning when I started, and I spun a lot. I think what ended up kind of slowing that was realizing, I don't know, I love the production of it. I feel like I'm producing something, but then after I'm done producing, I have to go one more step to make it into a final product. I mean, it's usable as a skein of yarn, but because I don't sell my yarn, or I gave a few skeins away, but it just kind of sits in my stash. And I don't knit with hand spun as much as I probably should. I do have some upstairs in my stash that have been there for a really, really long time. So I just need to get better at that, and maybe give away some skeins, because for me, what I love about spinning is the actual process of it, and the yarn itself, though I love it and it's beautiful, it's not really why I do it. Which is so interesting, because I feel like a lot of the time I am a product knitter. I love to knit something to get the product. I'm waiting, I'm kind of rushing through it so that I can finish that object, wear it, use it, give it away. But that's not the case with spinning. So it's kind of interesting, isn't it? I don't know. So anyway, I will show my spinning later on in the podcast. But right now, I'm going to show you quickly the little object that I finished today. And this is, oh my gosh, it's so cute. I forgot to look up the name of the pattern and the designer, but I'll put that at the bottom. I know it's called something like the Ombre baby hat or something like that. But this is it. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. So I did the brim, I believe, on Monday, and then I started a few rows Tuesday and Wednesday. Like, I was up to like here. And then today I was just like, you know, this is priority. I have to finish this. I need to wet it and, you know, set the stitches so that I can give it to my friend Amber on Saturday for her baby shower. And so this is going to my college roommate, Amber, who's having her first baby in November. For those of you who have watched the podcast before, you've seen a couple other projects that I've done for her. a baby blanket, some baby socks, and then now this. And this originally was going to be a sweater. The project I had in mind for her was a sweater using the Green Bay Packer colorways. I'm still gonna knit that for her little baby. They're huge Green Bay Packer fans. But I decided that, well, with Spinzilla, I just wasn't gonna have enough time. I really want to enjoy knitting. Sorry, I'm like ticking off reasons why I didn't knit the sweater. I really want to enjoy knitting the sweater for him. And I can still give it to him this winter. I think it will be, I don't know if it'll be a Christmas present or maybe a little before Christmas. Maybe when he's born in November, I'll have it ready so that they can like put him in it for the rest of the football season. But I decided to knit this little gray hat in the same colors that I knit his baby blanket out of. So I'll put a picture up of his baby blanket, and it's knit in 2 different shades of gray, these 2 shades of gray, and a yellow. And I kind of ombre that using seed stitch. I did put the pattern on Ravelry, so you can go look that up if you wish. It's called the Kickapoo Baby Blanket, and it's a free pattern. And I just thought it'd be really fun to have, for him to have a warm, cozy hat for wintertime. He's going to be born in November, and it can, you know, it can get really, really cold here in Wisconsin, obviously. So I thought that this little hat would be perfect. It's made out of a worsted weight yarn. The top, the dark gray yarn is Rowan Pure Wool Worsted. Yes, Rowan Pure Wool Worsted. And the bottom gray color is Cascade 220 Superwash. And this was such a mindless, this took me, I would have had it done in an afternoon. As it was, after I finished the toe of the sock and Kitchenered it, it probably took me an hour to finish it, all said and done. Maybe an hour and a half. Again, I was like right here, so I just had to knit up to here and then decrease. It has like a kind of a traditional spiraled decrease at the top, and then you just cinch the stitches together. And this is a free pattern on Ravelry. I'll put the name of it and the designer down at the bottom so that you can find it if you wish. And she has sizes from, there's like 0, well, she has like 2 preemie sizes, and then this is the newborn size. And then she has like 4 more sizes off of there. So it comes, you know, in fairly good sizes. I think I want to knit something like this for my nephew. My sister was just mentioning a couple times ago that I saw her that he doesn't really have a lot of winter, you know, he had stuff from last winter, but he outgrew it. And now that she didn't have, you know, when you have your baby shower and all this stuff, you get things for the first year mostly, and then the second year comes along and you have to buy all new things, or, you know, hopefully you have family members or friends who can either donate them to you or you can get secondhand, because kids grow so fast. Oh my gosh, like he will probably be able to wear this like 4 times before his head is too big, but it is still really cute. And on those first couple outings he is going to need something warm and squishy and adorable, so this will do it. So I hope she likes it. It's just one more little thing to add to the box. I was toying with the idea of making little mittens for him, like little thumbless mittens. But tomorrow's Friday and tomorrow is going to be a super busy day, so I do not have time to do that. But maybe I'll add that on and just give it to him whenever. I mean, baby knits, they don't have to be given at a specific time, right? It's just, I like to have a lot of things in the box for the baby shower. It's just really fun to kind of, yeah, send it all her way. So yeah, so that was really fun, and I did not expect to finish this today. It was kind of a pleasant surprise that I got the socks and the hat done today. And now I can cast on some new things. Or maybe I should look back at my languishing projects and maybe finish some of those. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. So because I feel like my spinning, what I spun is also kind of a finished object, finished items, I will show that to you next after I take a sip of tea. Because it is the perfect temperature right now. Sleepy time tea reminds me of my childhood because it was one of the only teas that we were really allowed to drink because it was herbal, it didn't have caffeine, and it's just, you know, I mean, a lot of herbal teas, obviously there are more than just this, but for some reason this was always in our house. And I remember my mom making it for us, and my dad actually, in both of their houses, they would have sleepy time tea. And yeah, I remember sometimes getting a mug of this before bed, and it was kind of a treat almost. You know, my mom, while we were all snuggled in watching TV or doing homework or something, she would ask if we wanted tea, and yeah, so I can like close my eyes and be back in her kitchen. Isn't it funny how things like that can kind of transport you to different places and different times? I love that. Same with smells. Smells and tastes and sounds, for me, can just spark memories. And yeah, there's certain things, it's like, oh, I'm back in my grandparents' house, or oh, I'm back in my elementary school, or, you know, I don't know. It's just great. Okay, so the first yarn that I finished spinning for Spinzilla was, it's kind of hard to explain. So last year at the end of Spinzilla, I had spun half of a braid of this fiber from LCB Creates. I think that's what her shop is called on Etsy. Again, I will put the exact name down below. And I didn't have time in the time limit of Spinzilla to finish the other half of the braid and to ply it. And so I just counted, you know, that one half of the singles that I made and thought, I'll just spin this up later on and ply it and take it off the wheel. That never happened. That just never happened. So I needed to at least do that for this year's Spinzilla. Finish up the braid, ply it together, and take it off the wheel. So that is what I did. So this was my first, sorry, that light from that, let me see if I can like block it out with my body. There we go. So this is, I forget what blend it is, I forget what colorway this is. I don't know, because it was so long ago. But it's super, super duper soft and squishy. Oh my gosh, look how squishy that is. And it's just your basic 2-ply. I didn't worry about color matching. I tried to be consistent. There's one spot, whoops, one spot right there where one half of it is like not spun very well at all. But surprisingly, for the most part, I was decently consistent. Seeing as I hadn't spun for a year and these two singles were spun 2 years or a year apart. So I'm really happy with that. I actually got like 300 yards out of this, which is awesome. It'll be enough to make something. I thought of making Seaver something out of this. I showed it to him and he really liked the colors. If you couldn't really tell, I think the lighting's pretty good. It's like turquoisey blues and greens with brown and yellow and cream. Very earthy, very earthy, yeah, woodsy, earthy, I don't know. I think of our recent vacation to Bayfield and to Madeline Island when I look at this. Just the contrast of Lake Superior with the rocks and the woods and the pine trees the sand. So that is definitely what I get from this. So I might make him something out of this. Yeah, like I said, he commented on how cool it looked, how much he liked the colors, and then I had him feel it. And he's a very tactile person. So then when he felt it, he was like, oh my God, that's so soft. I'm like, I know. So you never know. He might get like a hat or like a neck. He doesn't really wear much around his neck, but I wonder if I made him like a manly looking cowl that he didn't have to like wrap. I don't think he likes scarves because they're just too fussy. So if I made him something like that, I wonder if he would wear it. I might poke and prod a little more to see, and then maybe make something for him with this for wintertime before it gets too cold. And I have a funny story about that yarn. So I don't have a Nitty Knotty or a Swift, so I didn't really have a good way of measuring out and scanning that. I was kind of looking around my apartment, and my eyes fell on this stool, or this bench, I guess it'd be called a bench, that I have, that my Oma gave me, and it's the legs of an old sewing machine with a wooden like seat on it, and very, very beautiful. And I thought, oh, it has like claw feet, you know, it's like wrought iron. I'll maybe take a picture of it and put it here. But I thought if I flipped it over and wound the yarn around the claw feet, I thought I was a genius because it wasn't going to slip anywhere. The claw feet come up and out like that, and I thought if I put it around the base, yeah, it would be perfect. And then I could measure how many inches around that was and calculate how many inches and then into yards I had in that skein of yarn. Everything worked perfectly until I went to take the yarn off of it, and I suddenly realized I had wound it pretty tightly. There was no give. When you're working with a Swift, you can collapse it and the yarn can just come off. When you're working with something like this, there's no way to collapse the legs of this bench. So I almost like strand by strand like pulled it off and around these wrought iron feet of this bench, and I was so worried I was gonna snap it. Oh my gosh, I could not believe how it just whoosh. I was tired. I had been staying up way too late the last few nights. Oh my gosh, so ridiculous. So I haven't measured or skeined up any more yarn since then, but I'm definitely not going to use that again. It did work out great to skein it, but yeah, taking it off was a nightmare. Thankfully, nothing snapped, nothing snagged. It's perfectly, wonderfully whole. I was just kind of an idiot. But I did manage to spin up some more yarn. This is a beautifully natural 100% South Down yarn. I've had this fiber for a couple of years now. I wanted to experiment with South Down because in my fiber source book, they were talking about how, and I'm not talking about baby doll South Down and regular South Down are kind of two separate things now. They have different qualities to their wool, yeah, and of course to their breed. Baby dolls have been bred to be like super small, almost like backyard pets in a way, and the regular South Down are actually quite large. Their backs come up to like where my hips would be probably, but they're very, very docile and tame. A lot of times at like county fairs and things, you will see South Downs as like 4-H projects. And I was kind of wondering about South Downs. So I eventually, when we are not living in an apartment anymore and we have enough money to buy our own house, preferably on a little bit of land, Seaver and I would love to get a small flock of sheep. Correction, I would love to get a small flock of sheep, and he is coming around to the idea. He's actually quite supportive. He was a farmer full-time with his dad. He grew up on a farm, a dairy farm, but still. And he likes the idea of a more manageable animal besides cows. Plus, dairy farming is pretty difficult. Just with the markets changing, and even like they're organic, but you can never count on the milk price to stay the same. And yeah, so he kind of decided, even though he loves it, that wasn't going to be his career. And we both like the idea of a smaller hobby farm, with animals on it, obviously, but nothing too demanding. I mean, you know, you have to obviously take care of sheep every single day, but it's not quite the same as it is with dairy cows. And those of you who have experienced dairy farming or know anything about it, a small family-run dairy farm with 1 or 2 people working on it is a lot of work. It is so much work. You're tied to it night and day. There's no weekend. There's no days off. There's you, and you are just reacting to what happens on the farm, weather-wise and just situationally, disease-wise, and a lot of times you have no one there to help you. You kind of just have to be creative. And of course, everything you do is for the cows. It's so that they can eat during the winter. It's so that they stay in their pasture. It's so that they don't get hurt or injured. Because of course that's your livelihood, and you want to do the best by your animals. So anyway, I don't know why I kind of went on a tangent there, but we both love cows. We both love that lifestyle. It's just, at this point in our lives, we don't think it's going to be our future, but having a flock of sheep would be awesome. So anyway, I was wanting to experiment with all sorts of different wools so I could kind of get an idea of which ones I liked the best. So this was just one in a whole bunch of wool breeds that I was experimenting with, and I just finished spinning it last night. I applied it last night. So this is actually turned out to be almost like a sport weight yarn, I would say, 2-ply, and that's a pretty good shot. Undyed, natural. I enjoyed it. It definitely is a more rustic wool than, well, obviously merino and BFL. Polworth is even more. Polworth is super bouncy and soft, but I love spinning Polworth. I've spun Targhee and Wensleydale. Again, Wensleydale, we don't really have like a true purebred sheep in the US. We're not allowed to like import animals, if that's what I mean by we don't have 100% purebreds. They're in the UK mostly, I believe, and like we are not allowed to bring an animal over here. We can bring the semen over here and breed them to sheep we already have. So that's why, and then that sheep gets bred to a sheep that has some of it, and eventually we'll get to like a 99.9% pure blood, like Wensleydale or Polworth or whatever. That's kind of how the breeding works. Again, because we can't import them due to lots of different reasons. But you really probably didn't want to know that, but it's interesting. I think it's interesting. I'm really interested in sheep and sheep farming, so I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, so I did really like the Southdown. I felt like they had a shorter staple, and I couldn't spin it quite as quickly as you can with something with a really long staple length. And yeah, it's a little rustic. It's a little scratchy. I wonder how it would do with a soak. But otherwise, yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I obviously haven't measured that yet. I don't know how much I got from that 4-ounce braid. But it felt like a lot. It always feels like a lot when you're spinning. You look at like a hank of wool and you're like, oh gosh, that's not going to take me very long. Like 6 hours later, and you're like just getting to the plying. Like, oh my god. It takes a long time. Spinning takes a long time. That's why I haven't spun as much this year. that, and it's always better when you have people to spin with, I think. So the next thing I'm going to show you are things that have come to me over the last week. A couple of them I have bought, some of them have been presents. One thing I got 2 weeks ago, and I just didn't have it with me to show you, so I'll show that to you first. And this came in a care package from my friend Blondine. I showed you the mug that she got me last week, but she also sent me this bag, and I think it's hilarious and awesome. And it kind of looks Halloween-y to me, even though it's not supposed to be Halloween-y. But she knows how much I love Charles Dickens. Again, I talked about that last week. We've kind of bonded over our love of classic literature and adaptations and the books in general. So she sent me this Charles Dickens bag. So funny. So obviously that's his like portrait, but because it's like purple, it looks like, I don't know, it just reminds me of Halloween because he looks a little scary. But I think it's awesome. So I had the little baby hat in here, and I mean, it's not supposed to be a knitting bag, but it would be, I don't know, it'd be a good tool case. It doesn't open like that much. You can fit a small project in there, but yeah, it would be best as a tool case, I think, but we'll see what I end up using it for. But yeah, I just think that's hilarious, and I love it. And it's totally my like haunted Dickens project bag. So that was really fun. And then, so Friday I went to Unwound in La Crosse, and I got to visit with Carolyn and Kate, not Caroline, Carolyn and Kate, and I ended up getting something there. So I saw this and fell in love with it. So I've seen this yarn before. I mean, they've had it since they opened, but I was just kind of browsing and my eye fell on this gorgeous mint green tweed yarn. And I think it's coming out a little, oh, that's a pretty good rendition. The colorway is called Forgotten Mint, and this is by Two Guys Yarn Company. And I think they're in Rockford, Illinois. They're in Illinois though, because that is where Carolyn and Kate are both from. Doesn't say. And that's actually from the area I originate from as well. I grew up in Marengo, Illinois, which is, I would say Rockford's about half an hour away from us. And that was kind of one of the things that when I met Carolyn and Kate, we kind of had a moment because we all realized we were from the same area, roughly around the same time. I think I know I'm a couple years older than Carolyn and maybe a year older than Kate. So I guess we were all kind of in high school around the same time, but probably never really crossed paths. But anyway, that's beside the point. I fell in love with this yarn, the Forgotten Mint colorway, and I thought to myself, I need a garment out of that tweed yarn. And so I bought two. Yay! There we go. Sorry, my phone is yelling at me because I'm running out of battery. Anyway, yay! I got two of them, and they only had two, so I'm slightly worried. I know this is only like 870 yards, but I want to find a contrasting color that will pick up like the brown or the tan or the black in there, and maybe do stripes. Well, I don't know about stripes. Maybe incorporate stripes or do, I don't know, do something. There are a couple sweaters. They're like shorter sweaters, 3/4 length sleeves, very, I think of like Knitbot, similar to that, like the featherweight cardigan, the wispy, things like that. I could potentially get one out of 2 skeins of this, but I'm not 100% sure. We did check Ravelry and there were options, so I felt okay buying it. And again, like I said, if it comes to it, I'll just find a contrasting color in one of those beautiful tweed colors. I have nothing in tweed, really. I do have something in Kenzie, which is a tweed-like yarn. It's not a true tweed, but it kind of looks tweedy because of there's like silk noil pieces in it. And I love that sweater. But yeah, I wanted something a little more rustic looking, a little more traditional tweed. And this just light mint green colorway, I could not leave that behind. So now I'm gonna go get my phone charger because I don't want my phone to die in the middle of recording this. So hang on 1 second. I just had to cobble together like 3 extension cords to get my phone charged because apparently there are no outlets on this side of the room. Anyway, so that was my purchase at Unwound on Friday, and then Saturday I went to Yarnology, and I knew there would be at least one thing coming home with me from Yarnology, and that is issue number 3 of Lane magazine. I'm so excited by this. I've been waiting for the next issue of Lane to come out. If you don't follow them on Instagram, you really should, because I was like obsessively checking their stories and their feed. They post the most beautiful pictures. Whenever they're on like a photo shoot in the most gorgeous locations, it's just so awesome to see where they're at and kind of like what they're doing with all these beautiful, beautiful samples. But I'll just give you a quick peek. I have the first 2 issues of Lane. They came out last year. They're equally gorgeous, and I'm in love with almost everything in all of them. They do the most amazing photography for even their, like, these are their advertisements, and I would just look at this as like a coffee table book, because the photos of, sorry, I can't really see the camera. Yep, okay, there you go, you can see it. The photos of the yarn, they're so artistically done and just beautiful. Oh my gosh, so yeah, so nice to page through. They have, this one is in sections. I can't remember if the other ones are in sections too, but this one is Roots, and they have the most beautiful little kind of headings to their section. So this one says, for Roots, wherever I go, you are there in my heart, my bones, my soul, like a never-ending source of light. It's just, isn't that beautiful? So then, this whole book is just mouth-wateringly gorgeous. So yeah, you have the picture of the knit there, but then just that photo of that jug, it's just, it's eye candy. I love it. I could show you every single page, honestly, and I won't, but beautiful photos of nature, of the knits, of the models. This one is one of my favorites, this sweater there. I love the shape of it. They have some beautiful articles about some designers, and they've always done that. They've highlighted designers before in the other books, as well as mills and dyers. I know they do. This is a story on a mill. I want to say in Germany, because Is it in Germany? Oh, Scotland. Why did I think? I think I thought Germany because they do a visitor's guide later on in the magazine. Hold on. And it highlights Berlin. So they highlight Berlin, Germany. They tell you where there are good places to stay, where there are good places to eat, good places to shop. It's just really cool how they, and it doesn't all focus on yarn and wool. They just kind of give you a little bit of that information. And even if you're not planning on going to Berlin or going to another country or doing a really extravagant vacation right now, like I am not planning on that, it's just fun to read some of these and some of these descriptions and kind of dream and imagine yourself going to these places. So it does kind of transport you in a way. Here is, oh, I skipped. So this is section 2 called Gather. And it says, let us cherish the moment right here, right now, together. Again, beautiful photographs, beautiful designs. Oh, delicious looking food. They even have a few recipes. And let's see, I think this is the last section is, oh no, there's 2 more. No, just 1 more. It's called Create, and it says, a burning desire to translate what we see and feel into our own language. We are born to create. It just, I don't know, it's those little, it's just beautiful words. I love words. So yeah, it just gets better and better. This might be one of my favorites in this book. I love the detailing on the cuffs and the hem. I hope you can see that. Yep, there we go. That might be one I have to make. And yeah, and then it goes into the patterns. And I did not show you every single pattern at all. There are so many more designs in this book. It's kind of crazy how much you get in this. They call it a magazine. It's a book, and it's probably one of my favorite publications right now. Like I said, I love following what they're doing. I love looking at locations that they're at, or just them in their studio packaging up boxes like they were doing over the last few weeks. And again, you can find all that on their Instagram. They do a really good job of taking video and footage of their journey making Lane, and you kind of feel like you're along for the ride. I felt slightly invested in these publications, and I was so excited to get the 3rd one. So we still have these at Yarnology. They had a huge stack of them on the floor, and then they have extras up in kind of the overflow area. And yeah, if you would like one and you don't want to do a transaction online or something like that and have it like ordered from I think Lane does their own, they might do their own like retail. But call Yarnology, ask them for Lane, they'll do a transaction over the phone with you, and you'll get this sent to your house. So yes, so exciting. So that's what I picked up at Yarnology. And then I went home with something else that I was not expecting to go home with. They spoil me, they still spoil me there. They were telling me that they wanted to do a going away present for me, but when I actually left, they weren't ready to do that quite yet. They were still kind of deciding what it was they wanted to do, and they came down to, which I'm so excited about this. This is an amazing gift. I had been I don't know, when you're thinking about leaving, of course, you think about the big stuff, but then you don't necessarily think about the little stuff. So I realized suddenly when thinking about leaving the shop that I wasn't just obviously leaving friends and a job and, you know, all that stuff. I was leaving my Swift and ball winder because I never had to get one before. I was there almost every single day of the week, and besides like 1 or 2 days, and I could just wind yarn there when we were slow, or if I came in early, I could put a skein on the Swift and wind it up for myself. I also never really needed to buy a blocking mat. We had a big area downstairs where we blocked for customers. We had a blocking service there. And I would just bring in my things as well when there was nothing on the blocking table and I had some free time, again, or I came in early or stayed late, I would block my projects there as well. So realizing that that wasn't going to be the case anymore was kind of weird, and I had to rethink how I was going to do things. I am going to be asking for a Swift and ball winder probably for Christmas, but I still wasn't sure if I was going to invest in blocking materials. I thought I can get away with blocking on towels. You know, I don't have any pets or children right now, so I can lay it out on the floor. It'll be fine, you know, it'll be fine. Well, the ladies at Yarnology were also thinking this, and they had heard me say once or twice that I was going to miss the blocking area station downstairs. So as my parting gift, they decided to get me the Cocoa Knits blocking, can you hear me? Cocoa Knits blocking kit. So this is amazing because it is so good for apartment living. We sell these at Yarnology too, but it is like the foam puzzle pieces. A lot of times you'll see these in like playground or play areas, daycares, things like that. But it has like a fuzzy covering on the top of them so that it's better for your knitting. And there are, oh my gosh, there's so many. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 in each, so that's 18 of these. So if I have a smaller project and I only need one, I only have to take out one. If I'm doing a really big shawl and I need them all just like in a row, I can do that. I can mix and match and create different sizes based on how much space I have here, but then also based on my project. So I'm so excited about these. This package though also comes with a iron safe sheet. It's a 48 inch by 48 cotton, 100% cotton sheet. And I think, oh, I was like holding it way up here. I think these are 1 inch squares, so you can kind of measure your knitting if you needed to do that based on this. And then you can also, if you're doing like iron blocking or steam blocking, you can use this. Lay the piece on top of it or fold it inside of it so that you are protecting your project. I think that's amazing. And then I also got, along with this, are these T-pins that came with the set. Again, from Cocoa Knits. And I think that's it that came with this. And it all comes in this awesome, like, burlap bag. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Then on top of that, they also gave me these, which are kind of must-haves. Again, I'm not sure if I would have, at this point, being in an apartment, like I said, I wasn't sure what my blocking situation was going to be. I don't think I would have bought these for myself. But now with the mats and knowing that I can kind of have a designated space, not just do it on towels, like on my carpet, I'm really, really happy to have these. So we always use knit blockers at the shop when we're blocking for customers. They make blocking so much easier because you don't necessarily have to use wires. And I will get wires eventually. They are good for a lot of projects, but these are like, what is it, like 6, 8, 9 T-pins put together in one little thing. So you can make a flat edge much easier than you can with T-pins. They have the longer size and then the little short guys. And it's just such a helpful tool when you're blocking. It's so, I'm going to reiterate this, it's so much easier to make a straight edge with knit blockers if you don't have wires. And sometimes something that you maybe would wire up and use T-pins for, you can just use these instead, and you don't have to take the time to thread a wire through your knitting, which if I can avoid that, I will, because it takes so much time. But for now, these will do the trick for me, and I'm so excited about them. So that's about it for me. I am so excited to cast on some new projects. I really can't wait. This weekend is also going to be really fun. I have some stuff going on tomorrow, and then Saturday is the baby shower, so Amber will be getting all of her hand knit goodies for her new baby. And then on Sunday, I think I might be heading back to my hometown. There's a parade, and a lot of my family will be there. It's our like fall festival type thing, and I'm really excited for that. I think that's about it right now. I have a job interview tomorrow, so cross your fingers for me. I'm excited. And then I got another part-time job, hopefully on top of this job I'm interviewing for, and I'll tell you all about that later. I kind of have to clear it with the ladies I'm working for, but I'm super excited about it. I'm super excited. So hopefully I'll be able to tell you all about that very soon. And until then, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much for tuning into my podcast. Thank you to returning viewers, as always, for coming back. I appreciate every single one of you. And thank you to new viewers who stopped by for the first time. I appreciate that you have a lot of choices out there, and thank you for giving my podcast a go. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you'd like to, please like and subscribe the video. All right, I will see you all very soon. Thanks again for tuning in. Please go do things that make your heart happy. Be kind to others and make the world a better place. And I will try and do the same. I love you all very much. Bye.